Let's see. Let's see. Okay, I guess I am live. Let's see what's going on here. Okay, we'll just have to see what's going on because it hasn't kicked over yet. But we are live and we're actually talking about healing through peaceful choices. I think it's very, very important that we always choose peaceful ways to begin our healing process. Anybody that has suffered through narcissistic abuse understands this, that sometimes you just got to get your ego out the way. To be completely honest, you have to get your ego out the way because ego only causes problems. And the narcissist or the toxic person you're dealing with, actually, they kind of like your ego getting involved because it gets a rise, it gets a reaction out of you. And that shouldn't be the case. But before we start anything, got to do this for my daughters. I have to share our affirmations. And as always, please include these into your affirmations as well. I think they're awesome. I think they're powerful.
This live and every live is driven by a father's love for his daughters. These are the affirmations we share. And now we share them with you. I am going to change the world. I am very intelligent. I am very powerful. Welcome to the Now movement, where truth becomes freedom and peace becomes power.
All right. Hopefully that is done. All my lives are dedicated towards my daughters. I miss them so much, and they're still on the planet. But that's a story for another day. In fact, you can actually scroll through the YouTube channel. I think there's actually a video on parental alienation, so that might give you some clarity. But that's all we do here. All we do is offer clarity, and our biggest goal is to get people out of the box. So today we're slowing things down. We're talking about something very, very important, something, as I said before, that every survivor deals with, the fog. That sense of not having clarity, that sense of being confused, because confusion gives you mixed signals. It creates self-doubt. And it makes you feel like you can't trust your own memory or emotions, and sometimes your own instincts. Narcissistic abuse thrives on this. Their whole driving force, it seems like, during the situationship that you were in with them, was to create a constant state of confusion. But unlike fairy tales and storybooks, after you break free from the narcissist or narcissistic abuse, they don't just disappear off of the planet. And more than likely, you're going to find yourself in situations where you have to deal with them. It could be finances, it could be housing arrangements, it could be your children. So you're still going to have to deal with them. And you're still going to have to be able to continue to stay free without being dragged back into the chaos, the drama, all of the things that you thought you would be completely free from. But like I said, they don't disappear off the planet. So you have to ask yourself these very important questions. And I did it this way because I think it's going to make it so much easier for you guys to stay on track and stay steady. You're going to ask yourself who, what, when, where, and why. That makes it super simple whenever you find yourself in a situation with your narcissistic abuser or just a toxic person. So, who? This is always the first question. Who benefits when you're confused? Okay? Who only shows up when they need something? And most importantly, who are you when no one is trying to control your identity or emotions? See, the fog attacks your sense of self first. So you've got to put yourself into the first person. Let's say you got to go and pick up a bit for something from the narcissist. So you have to you have to start the situation as you're walking up to the door with that question. Who's benefiting when you're confused? Once they throw the first dart, once they try to trigger you, who benefits from this situation? This is why I always say taking a deep breath and waiting 2 to 3 seconds before you respond to anything is usually the best way to go. Trust me, it's the best way to go. Because if you ask yourself who is benefiting as your anger, your frustration starts to rise, if you just stop and ask, well, who's going to benefit from this? Who's going to win something out of this confrontation? 9 times out of 10, if the goal was to get you upset, pull you out of position, it's the narcissist that's going to actually get away with another drop of supply from you. When you ask yourself who only shows up when they need something, this is the narcissist way. The narcissist, your toxic abuser, whatever you want to call them, okay, this is how everybody is a transaction to them. There's no friends, there's no family, there's no soulmate like you thought you were. Those things don't exist in their mind. Everything is transactional. How do I benefit from this interaction? It could be supply, it could be financial gain, it could be making you frustrated. It could be so many different things, but you have to ask yourself, who benefits from this? That starts with, when you ask that question first, who, it puts things a little bit into perspective where you can think just a little bit clearer. You know, part of the fog that the narcissists use, that they draw over you, part of the whole fog situation is to leave you in a constant state of confusion. If you've been in a narcissistic relationship, you know that walking on eggshells feeling. Do I turn right? Do I turn left? Am I crunching on these eggshells too much? So the confusion is done strategically, is done on purpose, and is done to benefit them. See, as long as you're confused, you stay in the fog and you don't know, much less what turn to take next, but where the next turn is. Okay, I gotta drink some coffee. It's a beautiful day outside, but I had to do this. I really had to do this. Okay, so the next question you're going to ask yourself is what? When you're confused and in the fog, okay, you've gotten past part 1. You've asked yourself who's benefiting. What? You're going to have to ask yourself, you're going to have to break it down, or as they say in covert ops, you're going to have to do a quick debrief. You're going to say what actually happened, okay? Not what someone told you would happen. See, that's very important. You've been in this situation for so long that you really, let me just change this scene because this is I like this slide right here. You know, you have to ask yourself, what actually happened, because after the extended time that you had been gaslit, told that your reality didn't make sense, was basically told that you were misunderstanding things, that you weren't seeing things correctly, you have to get back in the habit. This is part of breaking free from trauma bond, is understanding what actually happened. Not the information that somebody else is feeding, not somebody else's viewpoint. It has to be what you experience. Reality holds the same for everyone. It's just that the narcissist has become a pro at distorting reality. So you have to always ask yourself, what the hell actually happened? Again, that 2-second pause, it helps. Okay, in fact, put that in your arsenal. 2-second pauses before you move forward with anything, any of these questions. Anything that deals with the narcissist, you have to pause and compose yourself. And with that being said, you're going to say, okay, so this is what actually happened. What they're feeding me right now makes no sense whatsoever. So I'm not going to buy into their version of the story. At some point, you've got to stop feeding into the narcissist version of the story. Their story never made sense. Their story was just left there to confuse you. You have to stop buying into it. Just when they say something, just quickly, what actually happened? They said this. I heard them say this. I know that they said this. And that's what they said. No matter how they try to distort, flip the story, it doesn't matter. You're going to stick to your guns. This is what happened, not the gaslight version, not the gaslit version, but the version of what really happened in this reality. So the next question you're going to ask yourself is when. Now, this is kind of important. I'm going to slow this down a little bit. I'm going to make sure that I hit each point with this. So when did you start doubting yourself? This is a reflection moment. When did you start doubting yourself, the greatness that was in you? And you've always had greatness. I don't care what anybody says. When did you start the process of doubting your own reality based on what someone else said or what someone else presented to you? You know, and then you have to ask yourself, and this is a very important question, and if you are healed and you're just popping in, you'll definitely understand this. When did the relationship shift from connection to control? When did the narcissist just ramp up everything to where you could kind of sense it's like this is no longer a relationship. This is one person trying to control every aspect of my life, mentally, physically, emotionally, because this is what the narcissist does. This is how they feed the empty void within themselves. And that's why, you know, this question or this aspect of the question is very important. When did it start? I say this often in a lot of lives that I do. I do a lot of lives on a different platform. And one of the things that I always say is, you know what's happening. In this situationship, in this crazy, strange relationship, this not toxic, narcissistic show that you've actually got a front row seat to, your nervous system knows what's happening. You start feeling ill, you start feeling anxious. Some people even have mental health problems. You know what's going on, and it's so nefarious because it's done on purpose, just to keep you confused so you don't notice when it went from connection to control. And that's a scary thought, to find yourself in a house, in an apartment, in a bungalow with the same person. And this person, they no longer, as much as you want to believe that they love you just as much as you love them, even though you want that to hold true, it doesn't really hold true, because the pattern is always the same with the narcissistic abuser. It's always the same. There's different names, different faces, but the way that it proceeds forward is always the same. And there comes this moment, and it's almost shockingly, it's like someone threw cold water in your face when you start to realize that this is no longer a relationship. I am no longer in a relationship. But during the gaslighting stage, during the love bombing stage, what happened was your body and your nervous system and your mind is that word that I always use. It's looking for potential. It's looking for a better story based off of what you experienced in the love bombing stage. And that story doesn't exist. That script doesn't exist. That was just something the narcissist planted on the table for you to go ahead and take part in, so that when it got to the control stage, when they're actually controlling every aspect of your life, that you didn't really notice. And then as an empath, you start fighting harder to save or salvage the illusion that sits inside of your head. That in itself is like petrifying to me. Well, when I came out of the fog, I started, and you always get the anger, because you start to notice, you start replaying certain conversations in your head. You start replaying certain situations, certain disagreements in your head, and then you start to see the pattern. That's when the pattern presents itself. And the pattern can't present itself until you get a sense of clarity. There's no way in the world, because until you get a sense of clarity, what's going to actually happen is you're just always going to default back to the trauma bond. The trauma bond is telling you, Hey, listen, just try a little bit harder. Hey, just love them a little bit harder. Hey, just go out there and just do what they're saying, and you can salvage this illusion. But deep down inside, you know that it's an illusion. And part of what we do at the Now Movement is, I respect all creators that talk about narcissistic abuse, but I feel that we're at the stage right now where this can't be sugarcoated. This can't be treated as if something that's easy to get through. Many mental health professionals, and I say this often, say this is like an addictive substance that sits inside of your mind. You're trying with every ounce of your energy, because you're an empath, you're trying to not only save the relationship, but you're trying to save this person. You're trying to make this person revert back to the illusion that they presented to you at first. And another question you have to ask yourself, and this is part of the healing process, is when do you feel that you are at your strongest? Finding those moments where you feel sure of yourself, when you feel invincible, when you feel that you are strong, when those few times that, whether it's on purpose or by mistake, you no longer let the narcissist trigger you. You no longer let, and we look at those as wins. When the narcissist, we can start seeing when the narcissist is trying to start chaos, trying to pick an argument, trying to pick a fight, trying to just unbalance our day. We can sense that. And it feels like these great wins when we don't fall into the trap, because as you start to get clarity, you start to see that, hey, this is kind of a trap. And this is, believe it or not, this is like a great way or a great litmus of figuring out whether you're coming out of the fog or not. Because when you're setting boundaries and not letting them pass them, and I say it like this because not everybody can go inside the closet, pack up a duffel bag, and walk out the door. If you can, do it. Run for the hills. If you have the capability where you can just, pick up the car keys, take your most treasured belongings, and, hit the road and move forward with your life, please go. But many of us don't have that situation. We're entangled with the narcissist, and the narcissist knows this. I'm going to tell you, narcissists will actually leave you financially crippled just so that they can keep you around as supply. Believe it or not. I know it sounds crazy, but you're dealing with a predator. That's why we have these healing through peaceful choices, because when you're dealing with a predator, you're automatically in fight or flight. Once you realize that you're being hunted by a predator, you become automatic flight or fight. That's all you know. And sometimes that's not the way to go, and all you're doing is building up more cortisol in your system. So basically, if you can find peace, find that peaceful place inside of your mind, you'll feel a lot better. It'll allow your nervous system to continue to regulate itself. It's a great skill to have. I'm not saying you have to go full on stoic, but being able to control your emotions is actually a plus, especially in the world that we live in. Not even talking about narcissists or narcissistic abuse, but having the capability to control your emotions as a sentient being is actually a great win. And as empaths, sometimes we do go a little overboard. We feel that, listen, I've been disrespected, I've been hurt, this has happened. And all empaths, just like all human beings, reach that stage where they want to lash out and lash back. And there's probably a few people sitting in jail cells right now just for that reason. So to avoid that, I always suggest that we have a base control of our emotions, our feelings, and our emotional output. Timelines expose manipulations. And when you say when, that question is a flashlight. The truth. Gotta love that person. The truth always finds its way to the top, especially when it comes to narcissistic abuse. Anybody that has survived the smear campaign without going out there running around like a chicken with their head cut off, trying to counter every claim, understands this. The truth always rises to the top. Even their flying monkeys start to question the reality that they are serving up, and this usually makes the narcissist go crazy because they expect everyone to believe whatever they're saying within the smear campaign. But after a while, the truth, because if you're lying, you got to always try to fix what you said, and usually the story changes along the way. But if you're telling the truth stays the truth. And narcissists soon find that depending on how long they push the smear campaign narrative, they soon find out that story starts having holes in them. People start looking at them sideways. People start asking questions. So the truth always comes to bear. And again, back to that emotional control and understanding the person that you are and believing in yourself, because in a narcissistic relationship, again, another strategic thing that narcissistic abusers do is they constantly try to bring you down, make you doubt your self-worth, because since they have nothing inside of them, since they have no feelings of self-worth, what they do is they try to take away yours. And this has been like almost on a daily basis. Just to share, I remember when I first started doing lives, and my abuser used to do lives and stuff with me, but I had to do this, and there was no way, she could take part in it. So I just did it on my own. Came back, I felt good about it. She never watched it. Again, you'll find that with narcissists, again, anything that is supportive of you, anything that puts you in the spotlight and even takes a sliver of light away from them, they can't stand it. Okay? Narcissists must always be the center of attention. So I came in and, I'm putting my step down. I said, it went pretty good. I feel pretty good. No, it didn't. You missed me being there. So we're just going to diminish. We're going to diminish what I did. We're going to make the good feeling that I'm having, that I'm trying to share with someone that I feel is my partner, my mate, and we're just going to tear it to pieces. Again, they need that self-doubt. It is strategic. Okay? They can't take the chance of anyone, whether it is their partner, whether it is their child, whether it is, I don't know, Grimace serving purple Grimace shakes. It doesn't matter. They always have to be the center of attention. Part of, I think, the next Healing Through Peaceful Choices in December, I need to actually address how the narcissistic abuser ruins the holidays. I don't even celebrate most of the holidays, never have, but growing up, my thing has always been my birthday. It's like December 29th. So, I didn't care about anything else as long as I had a good day on my birthday. And growing up, I actually, found ways to do that. Movies, things that I like to do. But when you're in a relationship, or you think that you're in a relationship with a significant other, you want to, just like you do things for their celebrations, their birthdays, the holidays, that they actually, you want to see that smile on their face. You want to see them feel good, and you want to be the person that brought that joy. Not with a freaking narcissist. I mean, as soon as I woke up, first thing in my head was, how are they going to ruin my birthday? And it was almost, I know, the law of attraction. I get it. No, this is not the law of attraction. This is just a narcissist feeling that, hey, listen, it's not my day, not my birthday. I could care too. I mean, I was told stuff like, I thought birthdays were for kids. Why do you even worry about your birthday? It's just another day. That's how I feel about it until their birthday comes around. They expect you roll out the red carpet, rent the castle and everything else. But that's a story for another day. So the fourth question that you're going to ask yourself, and this is very important, is where? Where do you feel this anxiety in your body? Where are you when you feel this anxiety in your system, in your body? This is basically your nervous system screaming at you like a banshee. Okay, it is screaming at you that you are in unsafe territory. You are in unsafe territory. That is the where. As long as you are around a narcissist, there can be no extended time periods of peace. It's impossible. It's impossible. Even during the love bombing stage, you will find that what you thought was peace and connection will soon turn into chaos, disorder, and just anarchy. Because this is what they do. They can't go but so long, and they need to keep up. And this is why this question is important when you ask yourself where. They need to keep this roller coaster of emotions going on inside of you. They need to keep these emotions flowing forward. Why do you say? Because the whole cortisol dopamine thing, they need to make sure without a doubt that you are on an emotional roller coaster, because this is what deepens the trauma bond. So you'll get 5, and you'll find that the love bombing it'll last for a couple of days, and then you'll wake up one morning and you're like the worst person that took in oxygen on this planet, and then there'll be times where, you're the worst person on this planet for like a week, and then all of a sudden out the blue, you'll wake up and now you're the best person on the planet. So it's almost like they can sense where your nervous system is at, and they play off it. Again, we're looking at basically a predator. Worse yet, we're looking at a virus, because a virus does something similar. It kind of maps where your body and your cells are to know whether to ramp it up and go full blast with what it's trying to infect you with, or just to ease back. Don't give too many symptoms just yet, because we can't have them going to the doctor and get medicine. So we're just going to ease back. We're going to move in there slowly. This is why I always say the narcissist is like a virus or a parasite or a demon. My favorite. I go for demon. And you have to ask yourself, where are your boundaries being crossed? Because I can guarantee you, and I don't even know you, I can guarantee you, narcissistic relationship, boundaries being broken every freaking day. Every day. Moment by moment. So you got to ask yourself question. You have to question the situation, like where, you have to be surgical with it, where your boundaries being broken. And here's the narcissist. Sometimes they do it little by little until the boundary is just gone. It makes no sense to enforce it, because you've let them take all these steps to break it. And then sometimes they gaslight you, they fight with you, and they tell you nobody does that, or that you're being selfish. Boundaries are not a cage. A lot of people mistake that word boundaries, saying, "Oh, I'm telling you what you can." No, boundaries are basically the way that you protect your peace. And look at it like a screen. It's summer. Let's just make believe it's summer outside. You want some fresh air in the house. You got a window and you got a screen. So if you open up the window, what's going to happen, and you don't put the screen down, you're going to get bugs all in the house. Stuff is going to fly in. It's just going to be crazy. But if you put the screen down, again, the boundaries, this is the filter. It kind of shows you that, like, hey, I'm just going to let fresh air into your house. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to keep the bugs out. I'm going to keep the debris that's floating around during the wind. I'm going to keep that out. And that's what your boundaries are there for, so that you can keep things that really don't serve you, that don't have your best interest in mind, out of your energy field, out away from your nervous system, And another thing is, you have to ask yourself, when did your voice disappear? I'm going to be honest with you. As a person that has survived narcissistic abuse and now has built a whole movement to help others survive, that's a question that comes into play once you get out of the relationship. When did you lose your voice? When did you find, and again, not even knowing you, I can tell you, after you come out of the relationship, after you break free, you notice that you lost your voice. And I don't mean literally, I mean the things that you felt passionate about, the things that you're at a dinner party or you're at a local pub, you can talk about it in a friendly way for hours because it brings you joy, it brings you happiness. When did you find that you no longer wanted to talk about your accomplishments with the narcissist? When did that take place? When did that happen? Because you were more concerned with keeping the peace, not initiating the next blowout by saying that you wanted to do something, or you felt strongly about something, or you felt something you just needed to share from yourself. When did you lose that? Where did you lose it? And the reality is, it's not that you lacked strength. You just lacked what they call a safe space. And being in a domestic narcissistic abusive relationship, hell, being considered the black sheep of the family, because I consider that narcissistic abuse, you're never really in a safe space. You're not in a space where you can actually be who you are, be yourself. And that's one of the things that we build here at the Church of Real Talk via the Now movement. And I'm proud to say people are noticing, and a lot of it is digital, a lot of it is online, but the in-person stuff that we do, that we go out there, we're going out there supporting vets because I'm a vet. It's not a one day a year thing. Yeah, I want to support my fellow veterans because I know what it's like to feel stuck. And where when you look at the word where, it's sometimes you have to ask yourself, where are you at right now? Are you happy with where you are at? Are you pleased with where you are at? 9 times out of 10, if you're in a domestic narcissistic abusive relationship, you're not happy where you're at. You're just tolerating it while you actually try to bring the potential that sits only in your mind out of your abuser. You're not happy. You're not pleased. Once you start to break free of the fog, you will see, like, oh my God, I've been miserable all this time. That's why it's important that we get more empaths, more warriors free from these relationships, because the cycle is vicious, because empath narcissists, it's like 2 black holes just circling each other. And part of it, and I have to be honest, part of it is the empath's fault, because the empath is looking for something. And I get it. We all want love. We all want happiness. We all want to be able to let the shields down for a little while. I get that. But sometimes we become so blinded by the narcissist and we start ignoring the real red flags. And the narcissist gives you those red flags all the time. It's just that you have been conditioned to, because the narcissist understands what you're looking for. The narcissist knows you're looking for a connection. You're looking for love. How many of you have felt in the beginning of a narcissistic relationship like, this is my soulmate? I have literally found my soulmate. This is done on purpose. This is done strategically. This is done with them mimicking you. This is done with them making you feel comfortable. This is done with them showering you with gifts. This is done with all of the physical and romantic attention that you're getting. They know exactly what it is they're doing. I have no doubt about that. I don't care how many people say it's a mental issue. The thing that changes that for me is you know exactly what you're doing. And once you start doing things strategically, hey, that's the difference, Charles, you go out to do this to somebody. If you premeditated it, if you thought about it, usually the penalty is going to be a lot higher. The narcissist knows exactly what they're doing from the first conversation. They know what their goal is. Always remember that. And you just need to feel safe. I get that. As an empath, as a person that has dealt with trauma, but chose not to become a narcissist, as a person that understands that, We all want a safe space, you know, but a safe space is not running into a cave and not checking out the whole cave because it just looks safe from the front, even though there might be a pack of lions or a pack of hyenas or some beast just a little bit down the cave. We're walking into the cave saying, it's safe here. This is what I'm looking for. I've been looking for this for I don't know how long, and it's here. And that's why clarity is so important. And this is why we do these, so that we can help people see, like, okay, I'm going through this, and this guy, this Minister Robinson guy, is saying this is a pattern. This is something that they do over and over again in their lives. Yeah, it is a pattern, you know. And the final question that you have to ask yourself, and it's always important that you ask yourself this, is why? Why? Again, a lot of it falls back on that embedded potential that you have for this person. So why do you keep tolerating what hurts you? Why does their approval feel like survival? Why do I deserve peace? Why? These are important questions. You deserve peace. Every human being on this planet deserves peace. I don't care what anybody says. You deserve peace. I don't care if you live at the base of a volcano. You deserve peace. Okay, this is something that shouldn't be taken away from another sentient being based on this person not having peace within themselves. You know, and why do we tolerate what hurts us? Because I'm going to be honest with you, we tolerate a lot of this batshit behavior, knowing that it hurts us. I mean, there were so many times where I felt the need to lash out. I felt the need to set things straight because I felt hurt. I felt betrayed. I felt as the person that I thought was my soulmate was actually my greatest, as kids call it, op. I just couldn't understand it. Again, the confusion, the fog, you know, and would tell me like, oh, no, I love you. No, you don't. You love trying to break me. You love trying to make me feel unsteady. You love trying to make me feel unsure. You love what my pain does for you. But in the classical sense of the word love, no, never love me. And I've come to grips with that. And that's part of breaking the trauma bond, is knowing that this was an illusion. This was all in your imagination. This was something that you drew up in your mind to make yourself feel more comfortable. Your ego basically stepping in and saying, no, they said they loved you. Come on. What do you want them to do? You want them to jump through hoops? They said that they love you. Take it for what it is. But love shouldn't feel like pain. Love shouldn't feel like hurt. And when you ask yourself this question, especially when you find yourself where the narcissist, even though you've broken free and you're feeling good about yourself, they can't stand it. They can't see you thrive. They can't see you feel good. They can't see you move on. And you still have to deal with them. That's why these 5 questions are so very important. Who, what, when, where, and why. This is why it's so important that you ask these questions and take your time before you respond, but you need to cycle these questions through your mind every time that you find yourself in a confrontation with the narcissist. You know, one of the things that we as sentient beings, as empath sentient beings deal with is we don't like feeling alone. We don't. It's just part of our makeup. If you're an empath, you get this. We don't like being alone. It's somewhat painful. I think that's probably why the isolation ritual is so important for those that are chosen. Because we can't stand it. It's just, what am I going to do? But the reality of the matter is sometimes it's okay to be alone. It really is. Sometimes it's okay to feed into yourself. If you've just come out of a narcissistic, abusive relationship, you have spent that whole relationship feeding into with no return on investment. Maybe it's time you fed into yourself. Maybe it's time you start exploring yourself. Maybe it's time you start learning why, and not in a bad way, but in, I guess, a motivational way. Why did you tolerate it? Kind of like dealing with your shadow. It really is, and why did it feel at one stage, one of the things, and I want to put this in my next audio book, one of the things that I noticed was I had always, all of my life, I had been this independent person. I needed nobody's validation, anything that I was going to do. If I set out to do it, I knew at an early age it was up to me whether it got finished or not. So your validation really didn't matter in the scheme of things. And this relationship towards the end, this illusion, I'm going to stop calling it a relationship, but at the end of the illusion, I was so ashamed of myself because I was putting so much of my dreams, my aspirations in the hands of a person that didn't see them come to fruition, didn't want to see me get to the next level, didn't want me to feel that I had the capability to do the things that I've been doing for years, for decades. This is why the Now movement exists. Because this not only takes away from you, and I got to be clear about this, because this is a very, very important aspect of this whole abuse thing. This doesn't just strip this from you, it strips it from the world. Whether you believe that you're chosen or not, and most empaths are, whether you believe it or not, you've got something special that you're supposed to be dropping off to the rest of the world. Believe it or not, the narcissist knows this. They've got nothing to drop off, but you do. And this is why sometimes I call it spiritual warfare. Because it's almost like you being the empath / chosen one are trying to live in your purpose. You're trying to do something that is going to actually be of assistance to another person at the bare minimum, but to the world at the best case scenario. I mean, they go out of their way to destroy that because it makes them feel. I gotta turn this off. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Oh, God. I don't know if you guys heard that, but it was driving me completely bonkers. I was like, what the hell is chirping like that? But anywho, yeah, they always wanted to steal it. Once they saw your light, once they saw you begin to shine, that became job number one, to take that from you. And it was systematic, and me not even being in your narcissistic relationship, I can tell you exactly how it played out. It all started with, I guess, friendly competition. And then it became your fault when they couldn't do the things that you do. And when you're in the middle of the illusion, your mind is telling you that it's a relationship, it's kind of hard to deal with that. You can sense the hate, you can sense the disdain, you can sense the feelings of envy and jealousy. You can sense it, but it hurts. It hurts at a whole different level because, again, this illusion that you think is a relationship, you're still showing up as a person in a relationship. You're still showing up as someone who cares. And as you get more clarity and you start seeing the competition aspect, then you hear the jealousy and the envious comments, and then the shade is constantly being thrown. And that's all that you do. And it starts to wear and tear on your soul. Again, strategic, done on purpose. That's meant to take away your spark. And you have a spark, because another thing that I say often is narcissists, they don't go after Joe does nothing with his life and has no goals or no ambitions, or Jane who doesn't want to do anything but sit down and eat potato chips and watch TV. They don't look for people like that. Yeah, for quick hits of admiration, quick hits. Yeah, because the romantic / emotional / physical aspect of a relationship is transactional to them. What they need is the admiration. What they need is someone to tell them that they are great, that they are super. But for the long game, they need an empath. They need somebody that they are attracted to for what is inside of them. And this is why I've come up with this theory of why narcissists, they just target empaths, is because empaths are fixers. That's what they do. And deep down inside, even though they say that, narcissists have no ability to reflect, they have no remorse, none of this, deep down inside, they're looking for that empath to heal them. Again, they're well aware of everything that they do. And they know that they're bad, evil people, but the lack of empathy just buries that back down to the bottom. But they look for empaths because they think that the empath is the one that can heal them. They think the empath is the one that can save them. But as if any religious text, any religious document, any psychological, you can't help someone who doesn't want to help themselves. And that's where the hate, envy, and jealousy, because they've become so accustomed to the life that they spend getting these dopamine highs from destroying good people, from destroying empaths, that they soon decide that, you know what, I don't want to heal. And it's your fault. It's your fault that I can't heal. That's why they say narcissists are very dangerous people. That's why they tell you to run. Once you come out of the fog, as soon as it is convenient, sometimes not as convenient as you want, you need to go. You need to go, because if, again, like I started this live, if you have financial matters that you're entangled with, if you have children that you're entangled with, the shit show isn't over. And that's why I have these healing through peaceful choices once a month. And I want to do them so much more, but we're working on that, where we're getting people that see the vision and they want to help it go forward. But this is healing, A, first and foremost, finding peace, B, because that can't happen until you heal. But C, staying peaceful, that's where the challenge is. Because you have to remember, you've been in a relationship with a person that's done nothing but study you. They know your triggers. They know what tune to play on the dog whistle. They know how to make you react. Take that away from them. And only you can do it. Go ahead, start burying your ego. Stop trying to prove that, hey, listen, you're a piece of shit. Stop trying to prove that. That makes no difference. Because if you're healing and you really want peace, the rest of the malarkey really shouldn't matter. Peace and healing, that's it. Those two things, that's all you focus on. And you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it, if you've got kids involved, you're doing it for your kids. Because they need to see. They need to see, because you don't want to start the next generation of dysfunction. You don't want the dysfunction to be generational. Okay, you want to stop it right here. And as an empath, you have the power to do that. Stop trying to resurface what you thought it could have been. Stop trying to play back the good times in your mind. Stop. Who, what, when, where, why. That's all you need to concentrate on. And that will get you that much quicker towards the capability of healing yourself and then finding peace. And then if you got kids, being there for your kids. I think I spent enough time on here, except for that damn beeping thing. But anywho, okay, I just want to say this. I wrote this out earlier. You don't escape narcissistic abuse by running. You escape it by answering the right questions. The fog kept you trapped. Clarity sets you free. And today you walk away with 5 tools nobody can take from you again. And I want you guys to stay powerful. If you enjoyed this live, if you want more clarity, we have a ton of free, completely free resources on the ChurchofRealTalk.com. We got the healing library. We got videos like this. We have workshops all the time. We're doing so much. Again, it's the empath in me. I can't see anybody go through this and just sit back. And if I can reach one person, if I can help one person just peer through the fog, it's up to them, but peer through the fog and say, you know what, this has really been a shit show. I need to find peace again. Then I've done my job. Not only as a minister, not only as the person that created Church of Real Talk, not only the person that founded the Now movement, but it's just a understanding, compassionate, and empathetic human being. Stop by the website. I am excited. I'm hoping by Monday we can launch it. Again, legacy, my daughters. My sons are doing great. They probably want nothing to do with this whole coffee thing, but I found a way to create a coffee brand for my daughters. And just like those affirmations that we ran in the beginning, I kind of try to embody those affirmations because I want them to embody them. I want them to feel empowered throughout their life because they're very young, they're very little. So that's why we say, I am going to change the world. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to let them see by my example. I am trying to change the world. Right now, they're probably not allowed to go on the internet. And probably if they are, if my voice comes up, whatever device they're using is snatched away from them. But I want them to see, that we all have the capability to change the world in a positive way, no matter what's going on in the world. I am very intelligent. You put your mind to anything, you can make it happen. I'm telling you, my grandparents used to tell me that all the time. Put your mind to it, Butchie, watch, it'll happen. I want them to understand that. That intelligence is key. And sometimes intelligence means using your imagination in a great way. Since they're little, I kind of always tell them that use your imagination, start making that imagination thing work, because many, many great inventions, many great thoughts have come from someone using their imagination. And of course, I am very powerful. Everybody has the capability to be powerful. You do. You just need to get out of the fog. You just need to get yourself free, and you will see just how powerful you are. And just because you were in a narcissistic relationship, I'm going to tell you something, they knew they were powerful. Once you start to heal, that is the scariest point in a narcissist's life, not on some reflection stuff. It's more or less they're petrified of you, because what they thought that they could destroy actually rose like a phoenix and became even more powerful. With that being said, I'm going to close out with the commercial that I created for my daughters. I want you guys to go out there and change the world. And I always need people to become part of the movement. If you want to help out, it could be just, telling people about audiobooks, or maybe running a workshop on your own, with my assistance to help you if you need anything. Maybe, there's just so much that we can do to reach more people. And that's all I want to do, is reach the people and let them know there is hope. There are so many people that are sitting out there broken because they've actually got a free pass to the shit show that's called domestic narcissistic abuse. There are so many black sheep of the family that are still trying to figure out, why did these people, they're supposed to be my family, why are they turning on me? Why are they treating me this way? Parental alienation, why wouldn't we follow the rules of engagement and leave the children out of it? These are all things, that you have to actually think about, and how you can be the creator of the Church of Real Talk. How can you be of assistance to another person so they don't have to go through it? With that being said, let me run my daughter's commercial for Three Little Owls and Company, because they are my three little owls. Okay, let's see.
Three little owls
from the heart. Oh, 3 little owls and company, where love meets the soul and the soul meets peace. 3 little owls and company, legacy in every pore. This live and every live is driven by a father's love for his daughter.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Love you guys. Keep healing. Stay powerful. And the reason why I do everything I do, love you.